Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and come to order. Bob, did you already turn that on?
Yep.
See if I can
I
figure
just
it
did. I'm seeing if it's.
Okay. That turned on.
You're good.
We good? Let's go.
Mayor,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Autumn,
Yes, ma'am.
Justin,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Stand for the prayer, men, for the pledge. Dear Lord, I thank you for such a wonderful day. And I ask that you guide and protect us, and I ask that you look over this governing body and help us to make good decisions. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consideration and action on consent agenda. Does anybody have anything?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Aaron,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Autumn.
Yes, ma'am.
Public appearances, petitions, responses, communication, and personal appearances. Does anybody has anything that they'd like to speak about today? No? Okay. Consideration, discussion, and possible action to read and accept proclamation declaring March 20 through 26/22 as a National Safe Place Week.
I thought Angie Freeney was going to be here from Payne County Services. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Do we need to, maybe she'll show up in a little bit, we can come back to it. Does that work? All right. Consideration, discussion, and possible action to consider issuing a letter of support to Centronet, a subsidiary of CREC, to apply for federal funds to deploy broadband via fiber in the city of Perkins.
I'll give you guys these before I start talking, and I'm sorry, I only have 3.
It's okay.
Okay. Sure.
We can figure it out.
My name is Sachin Gupta. I am with Centronet, which is a subsidiary of Central Rural Electric Cooperative. Our mission is to bring gigabit internet to north central Oklahomans in 7 counties. The reason why I'm here today is because, as you might know, the federal government has made a lot of funds available for broadband deployment under the CARES Act, which passed in 2020, the ARPA Act, which passed in 2021, as well as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which also passed late 2021. The state of Oklahoma has $1.87 billion available under the ARPA funds, for which they are currently accepting projects. That portal closes, or likely closes. They're still needing to vote on it, but it likely closes by the end of this month. We have visited several different cities, 13 in total, and have requested supporting letters exactly like this, and they have all provided us with supporting letters, and we have submitted projects to build fiber to the home within those cities, and we have requested money from the government. I'm here today just to ask for a letter of support from the city, which will allow us to apply for the ARPA funds with the state to build fiber to the home here in Perkins. And then going forward, as more grant applications come in, either under the IIJA or the USDA's Reconnect program or anything else, other letters of support in the future.
So do we have any questions? Or?
And there's 3 letters in there that are just the representative letters from Stillwater, Stroud, and Cushing. But we have a total of 13 such letters from 13 different cities and 7 counties.
Tammy, do you have any guidance on anything like this?
I haven't seen what they have. I don't know anything about this.
want to see this?
You don't mind?
Thank you.
Thank you.
It'll be a letter of support very similar to this for the ARPA funds. And then going forward, as other grants come online, we just craft a letter that is for that grant.
Looks like they're,
No, they're not. So I said they're all the same, but they're not, so,
They're very similar.
yeah, I mean,
It's very difficult to reword things for 13 cities which say the
Right.
exact same thing.
I assume you're just wanting letters to help boost your request for grant funds, basically is what it is? Kind of-
Correct. We will also not want to do something in the city unless the city council actually agrees to it.
Right, okay. Well, we'll see if maybe, I mean, I know the Congress of Mayors I did over the weekend, this was something that was big, we were all talking about is some of the rural communities are having a lot of major issues of getting internet and broadband out there, and they're all about trying to bring that in,
Yes.
so.
Yes, and we do it with fiber, so it's a strand of fiber that comes all the way to your house. So currently we can do up to a gigabit of speed, but going forward it can scale up almost infinitely. So the technology exists today to be able to scale it up to 25 Gbps, which is 25,000 Mbps, right? And then going forward it can scale up even further. So it's a very scalable technology. Once you have the infrastructure in place, it's there for at least 30 years.
okay, and can I ask a few questions?
Yes.
Do you have to have corporation commission approval for your company?
When you say Corporation Commission approval for the company,
Or, yeah,
we are a subsidiary of Central Rural Electric Cooperative.
okay.
So,
And are they approved by the corporation commission?
yes. I mean,
Okay, and so you're all in place for that?
Yes.
And what do you mean by, well, okay, in the form, and I
Yes.
know we don't have to say it specifically,
Right.
but it says the city of Stillwater in partnership with Centranet.
Correct.
So that would be a public-private partnership.
Correct. When it says partnership, generally what we mean by that is that when we do come and deploy within the city after the funds have been made available, the city will give us access to the right-of-ways, the easements, so that we can actually bring in the fiber.
So then are you contemplating a franchise agreement?
No, we're not, unless you guys want to.
Do you have franchise agreements?
With any of the other cities, we have not asked for any franchise agreements.
Okay.
The relationship is extremely open. If you guys say that this is how we would like to work with you, then that is what I take back to my management.
Do you guys have fiber deployed inside a municipality?
Currently,
Yes.
no. Well, portions of Stillwater, yes, we have fiber deployed in portions of Stillwater, but we are not going to cover the entire Stillwater unless we get some funds from ARPA. Currently, we are only deploying to CREC members, which is what we have committed to. The money that we have to deploy to the members is the money of the members. Anything that is off-system, which means where we don't provide electricity, we need to get federal funds for that to be able to justify that expense.
Which would be the city of Perkins.
Yes, City of Perkins, inside Stillwater, Stroud, all of these
Oh, yeah,
cities,
yeah.
all of these cities are off-system for us.
You would be getting ARPA funds? You would be applying for ARPA funds?
That, from the
State
state,
ARPA
from the
funds.
state, yes, they have $1.87 billion. And they have opened up a portal last year in October. We have already submitted about 17 applications. So if Perkins agrees, yours would be the 18th application. And from there, they will likely close that portal at the end of March. And then after that, it's anybody's guess when they will send in approvals. The final approval is the governor's approval, so he's the one who's going to decide which projects go, which projects don't go. But this is just one of the grants. There are multiple that would come down the line.
Link has cable. ProValueNet has wireless.
If you want, I can explain it.
AT&T with franchise agreement. That's
They're exclusive, that would be a problem.
right.
I'll give this back. Can I have that one for the file? Can we have this one for the file?
By all means.
Thank you.
I don't want to overstep my bounds. But I would be supportive of supporting Centranet, supporting competition within city limits. And I don't know what we have to do to make that.
I can tell you pricing, it's open. I mean, we have two plans right now. One is a 100 Mbps symmetrical plan, which we do for $55 a month. And the other one is a gigabit plan, which is 1,000 Mbps upstream and downstream. And we do that for $85 a month.
85, you said?
85. There's a $100 installation fee, and all of the equipment is given for free. And I say given for free. You know, you have it till you have our service, and then if you terminate service, you have to return the equipment to us. But you can have it while you have service with us for free.
So it seems to me if the five of us are all supportive, then we could direct staff to craft a letter that would pass muster with staff. I mean,
I think so. I mean, this part is just looking for the letter to apply for the grant anyways, and then we can go further along if the grant comes through and we're gonna move in that direction to iron out some of the other stuff, sort of franchise or not franchise and so forth. But I agree. I think we should, do we need to do that in a motion, or do we just need to direct staff to craft a letter of support? Doesn't need to be a motion.
Can I ask,
But
am I
like-
allowed to ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, Dennis Cummings. Just lost my train of thought. What you're trying to bring to us, what is it gonna cost the homeowner to have it brought to their house once you get, nothing?
Nothing, except for a $100 installation fee.
Okay, so there is $100 to each house? If it
Correct.
goes to the house, it's a $100 installation fee?
Correct.
He thinks the portal's gonna close it.
There's a $100 one-time installation fee for $100.
Yeah, that's if you sign up with them.
And that's just sign up.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Depends on
Thank
who
you.
talk to, I don't know.
I don't.
So what is it, is there a deadline for this letter?
For the ARPA funds, I would like to have it before March 21st if possible, because they close the portal by March 31st. We will have to design a project, and 10 days would probably not be enough, but at the very latest, if you can provide us with with a letter by March 21st, we can do the ARPA funds to attach to our application. And then going forward, as money starts coming in under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or any other grant, like the USDA's Reconnect, then we'll come and request for a different letter, because all of them are addressed differently, they need different content.
Okay, then how about a motion to provide a letter of support
I thought so.
to Intranet, which has been approved by staff and the city attorney?
Okay. That'll be the motion then.
You say it.
Direct the staff to provide a letter that meets with staff and city attorney's approval.
Signed by the mayor.
Yes, it would be signed by the mayor.
Okay. Don't we need to say that, or is that understood?
No, it's
Okay, so there's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll scan it and email it to, oh, you have one, okay.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sarah,
I have to make a copy and send it to you.
Yes.
Autumn.
Yes, ma'am.
Just email me this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to it.
It's racials.
Okay. Consideration discussion regarding Kirk Avenue project with project manager Michael.
Mayor, if I may interject just for a minute, Penn County Youth Services is arrived.
Oh, so
Thank you for coming, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Yep.
much.
Do we want to back up then? Is that where what are we, the safe place? Okay. Consideration discussion of possible action to read and accept proclamation declaring March 20th to the 26th, 22 as National Safe Place Week. Okay. Is that what we want?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything you would like to say?
Well, I would like to thank you guys for recognizing National Safe Place Week, as you have done every year. We have several sites here in Perkins. We have the police department, fire department, library, Perkins Dental, Perkins Drug, and the schools. So it's very much supported. You guys have more sites here than some of our other communities, so we appreciate that. It's very much a needed program. We continue to have two to six kids access Safe Place in Payne County every month. Yeah. It does typically go through the schools, and Perkins has been great. The school resource officers, school counselors, fantastic in helping kids access it if they need to, and even transporting them to our youth shelter. So it's also important that we have some of the businesses available when school's not in session, spring break, weekends, summers. And we will be bringing out some new signs soon to businesses here in Perkins as well as throughout Payne County that do show if a safe place is not open at that time, that in a youth needs safe place, that they can call us directly. And we can make those arrangements to pick them up and bring them to the shelter. So anyway, thank you for your support. Any questions?
Thank you for providing that service.
Thank you.
Make a motion to accept the proclamation?
Second?
Aaron,
Yes.
Autumn,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor,
Yep.
Sarah,
Yes.
Justin.
Yes.
Do we need to read it? Are we good? Do we need to read the proclamation? We just accept it? We don't? No?
No, I'm sorry, I was answering Tammy, excuse
Oh.
me.
No? Okay. All right, consideration discussion regarding the Kirk Avenue project with project manager Michael Taylor, Cohen Group.
Good evening, everybody. Here for the monthly update. Phase 3 drives, curb, and gutter have been placed. Should be working to actually do that in Phase 4 next. We're still negotiating with the contractor whether we're going to push asphalt through Phase 3 and 4 or go ahead and set base in Phase 3 of asphalt. Trying to get some scheduling for CKD placement on Phase 4 because they've already cut grade in there. So we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, getting pretty close, hoping to meet our deadline for the proposed push of time. And everything seems to be moving pretty quick and good. Don't foresee any supply issues anymore. Everything's coming straight from the plant now, as far as concrete and asphalt. We don't have any other big materials unless anything breaks down. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Oh, I do have a question. I had asked you a while back, when Frank Poole had passed away, about he has a Kirk Street address, having a driveway on to his house. That was the last thing he asked me to make sure he did before he passed away, and I'm determined to make sure that he,
So just an approach into his yard? We can
because he
look-
does have a Kirk Street address, so.
We could look at that, but there's some limitations on how far we can get outside of our extents, but we will look at that. I know the sidewalk comes through there. But I'll definitely talk to the contractor and look at that.
I mentioned it to Tom and Jeff as well one night when they were out there looking at stuff, but
We will definitely look at that.
is, one other question. With this rain coming through, is there an opportunity to put some more signage or another road closed sign, like, do not come down this road? I mean,
On Kirk
right in
itself,
front of my, yeah, because we
and
pulled
we could
people out left and right last, what, two
we could-
weekends ago?
possibly talk to them and see if they'll go ahead and park equipment behind that.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for the weekend, or just, I mean, I thought we were gonna run a towing business for a weekend. You guys laugh, but seriously, my husband was not very happy about it by the end of the
Well,
weekend.
that CKD can get kind of slick when it gets wet, so I understand. Any other questions?
Does anybody else have anything? No? Okay. Consideration discussion of possible action to approve current construction contractor pay application 16 Kirk Avenue project in the amount of $105,525.40 funded to the general obligation bond, April 2nd of 2019.
Yes, this request is for a majority of the curb and gutter placed in phase 3, as well as some of the grading in phase 4, some of the final pipes that we put in for drainage in the last month, and the driveway placements that have been done as well. I think there's a little bit of sidewalk that's in place as well. And we are recommending approval.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Aaron?
Yes.
Autumn?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor?
Yep.
Sarah?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you.
Angie would like a photo with the proclamation. I wonder-
Okay, want to do that right now? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I bet she doesn't want to stay for the whole meeting, as
What?
riveting as it is.
Enjoying myself.
You want to do that now? You want-
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. Anybody else want to be in on the photo?
You go right ahead, sir. You are the figurehead.
Where are you? Over here,
What?
or I'll stand right there, and then that way you guys are in the photo.
Right.
You could not.
Bow out, I'm totally fine with it.
It's not.
Nobody else wants to
I
get
look
in?
like a mug. Did you say that? You said that. I will look like a mug shot.
We've had a few of these now.
We have.
Okay, look here, not here.
I assume you were talking to me.
Thanks.
Pay attention now.
You should have been like, up here, up here.
Say cheese, say cheese.
A little squeak toy to. All right. Consider discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 422, a resolution approving and authorizing the standard allowance for revenue replacement for the city from American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds requiring a record retention and declaring an emergency.
Good evening, David Floyd, Floyd and Driver. This is a resolution allocating the American Rescue Plan Act fund award that the city received to revenue replacement. As we discussed, there are several approved categories of eligible use for the ARPA funds. Revenue replacement is the broadest of those. It gives the city the most flexibility and leeway as far as allocating those funds to city projects. Using it really to take care of some of the needs that the city has that there may not be funds to do that. In order for us to unlock those funds, we need you to take action on this resolution making this designation. We are designating up to the total amount of the award. That does not mean we have to take all of it. We can still reallocate it for some of the other ARPA purposes. This is just giving us the broadest leeway as we start planning going forward for what things we'd like to use these funds for.
All right. Does anyone have any questions? No? All right. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Autumn?
Yes, ma'am.
Aaron?
Yes.
And can the record reflect that was a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Yes. There we go.
I'm sorry.
Do you want me to do the next one too?
Okay. Consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve the use of American Rescue ARP funds in the amount of $60,909 for the RV lift station project funding.
This is an allocation for funds to do a water project. There are two ways we can cover this under ARPA. We can either cover it under the revenue replacement that we just did, or we can peel it back and do water sewer infrastructure improvements. This project qualifies under both categories of use. You will probably count this as revenue replacement because it's going to be the lowest reporting requirements and the lowest exposure to the city in the event of an eventual audit. But we've got two paths forward on this one, either way we want to take it. By doing this, we're going to earmark the $60,000 for this project. POs will come through the city as they normally do, and will be expended just as we normally do it. We'll just designate on everything that it's coming from ARPA funds, so in the event of an audit, it's there to track.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I was just gonna, I assume staff's good to go.
Yeah, we'd recommend it. We reached out to the Iowa tribe and the co-op, haven't heard anything concrete back from either one of them. Co-op doesn't have a meeting until later this week. I don't know that they would be in the financial situation to contribute to something of this nature, and I kind of got that feeling as well from the vice chairman of the tribe.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion for approval. A second.
I'm sorry, Autumn, you moved, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a moment.
Autumn?
Yes, ma'am.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Serious discussion and possible action to award the bid for the RV lift station project to be partially funded by the grant awarded November 10th, 21.
So this was the bid that we opened last month for the improvements at the lift station. We did review and recommended to the lowest bidder. We have worked with them in the city before, and they've done a great job on all the projects that we've done. We recommended the base and alternate 2, which was actually an entirely new structure for the lift station. We recommended that because the cost of it on the base was pretty insignificant to the overall project. I think it was $5,000, and you could have a whole new lift station rather than a rehabilitated lift station. So that's why we recommended alternate 2. And we think we'll get a lot longer lifespan out of it.
All right.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Hold on, who are you awarding it to?
Oh, Betco.
I'm sorry?
EYTCO.
Can you make a motion to award the contract to Bayco,
I make the motion to award the contract to Bayco,
subject to approve an approved contract?
subject to an unapproved
To an approved.
and approved contract. I was like, that seems odd.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. You get a second? Not yet. I'll second.
Everybody's afraid to make a second. She might tell you to add lines to it.
You're afraid to.
I'm sorry, I should have thought that. We did.
Okay, Autumn?
Yes, ma'am.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Serious discussion and possible action to appoint Tammy Ewing as city attorney to approve a legal service contract with Ewing Law Office, PLLC.
And you guys, last time moved to have me prepare a contract, but you didn't move to actually appoint me, which that's okay. But under the charter, you were supposed to have an appointed person, so that's why we put it in to appoint. And then you have my contract, my proposed contract. The only changes that I made are that I changed it so that the prosecution is on an as-needed basis. I also added an insurance requirement for malpractice insurance because I made David Floyd provide proof of insurance, and I thought if I was gonna make him, I should make myself. So I have provided proof of insurance along with this, and then the term was changed, and then I changed the termination so that you can terminate me on 7 days' notice if you want to hire somebody so that the overlap. We talked about that when we were thinking I might still be interim, but I thought, oh, let's just go ahead and get the contract so that if you, hopefully, if come December you want me to continue, it will just be the same contract over again with the dates changed most likely. Unless you want to give me a raise, and then we can.
20 years.
Yeah, right, I know that.
Precedent has been set.
It's the running history.
20 years, so hang on tight.
I'll be dead.
Me too.
Or at least retire. Any questions?
I make a motion to appoint and approve.
I'll second.
Sarah?
Yes.
Autumn?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Consideration, discussion, and possible action to select Roper Construction as the contractor for the fire department Station 2 remodel project, total of $13,328 utilizing public safety sales tax.
I can tell you that Chief Porter reached out and got these 3 quotes, and that's the lowest one.
I guess he's happy with it.
Yeah, and the quotes were included in your packets, I believe. This would be for run.
We're on just the inside
Yeah.
station.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, but he would recommend using Roper, and so would I.
Motion to approve.
There he is.
Yeah, there you go.
Just on time.
His ears were
We were
ringing.
just talking about you.
I'll second.
Do you have anything you wanted to add on your approval of your contract for your remodel?
The inside part is what we're on right now.
Nothing to add.
Okay. Gonna give you the opportunity. Okay, go ahead. I think we had a second.
I seconded.
I'm sorry, Aaron, did you move?
Yes, ma'am.
Aaron?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Autumn?
Yes, ma'am.
Consideration, discussion, and possible action to select Roper Construction as the contractor for fire department Station 2 concrete project, 4,000 square foot for the cost of $30,000 utilizing public safety sales tax.
This, well, you can go ahead.
Well, it's to extend the existing apron out front, which would be the south side, out to the street, and maybe a little around to the east side of the building somewhat.
Does anybody have any questions?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Aaron?
Yes.
Autumn?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor?
Yep.
Sarah?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Consideration, discussion, and possible action to select the contractor for 7th Street south of Thomas Street ditch clearing project based on quotes received from Michael Taylor, Cohen Engineering Group, utilizing CARES Act funding.
As we've made improvements to drainage around town, this is another ditch that we realize is silted in over time, and we were working with Bob to get some quotes to clean that ditch. We requested quotes of, I think, 6 contractors and received 3 quotes. The lower 2 were pretty close to each other, and then we had one that was a much larger company that was a little higher. We reviewed and are recommending award to Taylor Dozer, no relation. And if there's any questions, we'd be glad to answer them on this one.
Can you, I mean, I'm familiar with Thomas, but I don't know which exactly are you clearing?
So that main channel, it comes down to 7th Street and crosses Thomas, and it goes from Thomas to Knipe. We're doing
40 acres.
Yeah, we're doing that.
All the way down, all the way down?
Yes.
In the
All the way
40
down.
acres.
This is just in the 40?
Yes.
Isn't that county property?
No.
It's
What am I
privately
thinking
owned.
of? I
No,
was
it's privately owned. It's
zoned or something.
it's not inside the city limits.
Right.
The city has a drainage easement through the property.
Okay, that's where I would had it.
Yeah, we have an
Okay,
existing
that's what I was
easement.
confused
We have a
about.
60-foot drainage easement through the property, and as part of the project, we would do a temporary construction easement on the property to get the equipment in there and legally do our work. But this is to clear from Thomas Street south.
Tonight.
Yes, it's taken out about 4 feet of material.
Yeah, after night, there's a lot more fall in it, and that ditch is pretty well pronounced from there. But to add to the temporary construction easement, we already have verbal on that. We just need to get
Yes.
it signed.
Any other questions?
I have one more
Mhm.
question.
Is there any relationship between the contractor and the owner of the property?
Yes.
I believe there is.
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure of the relation.
What was the question?
Yes, if there's a relationship between the owner and the contractor.
Yes, father and son. Between the owner of the property and the guy that submitted the low bid are father and son.
Whether you have any advice regarding that or any recommendation? I mean, it's a competitive bid. I just,
It's not there's no conflict.
okay.
We had the same bid form for everybody and the same ingress egress on the property.
And everything went straight to them. It didn't even come through City Hall.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Second.
Aaron,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yeah.
Justin,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes, ma'am.
Consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve ordinance number 487, an ordinance amending Title 5, Chapter 5, Article C, Section 10 of the Perkins City Code regarding smoking in certain places, adding Title 5, Chapter 5, Article C, 10.1 to the Perkins City Code regarding tobacco and vape use on city-owned and controlled property and declaring an emergency.
Sorry, that was long.
It's all right.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Melinda Caldwell. I'm the TSET Healthy Living Program Coordinator for Payne County. And the reason I'm speaking with you today is in regards to this tobacco-free ordinance. So the City of Perkins, a few months ago, currently spoke with you in regards to tobacco-free policy for staff. So there is a tobacco-free policy and staff in place, which would cover staff on all municipally owned property. There is, I believe, currently a tobacco-free ordinance for parks. So this would really expand upon that and include all owned property by the municipality. So it would expand upon parks, include vaping, which is a new really way of smoking that we've seen. People are kind of stepping away from cigarettes, and we're seeing it a lot among youth. So it's really a public health protective ordinance is what we're looking at here for the youth and citizens of Perkins that would expand upon your current ordinance of tobacco-free parks. In addition, this ordinance, I believe included in it is mandated for signage outdoors. That's something that our program would be able to purchase for the City of Perkins, so it would be at no cost, which I believe is included in there. And it would also allow the City of Perkins to apply for public health grant funding for different healthy projects. I believe something that we've discussed with the city is potentially applying for grant funds that Perkins would be eligible for a bridge at Peters Park to connect the walking path and the disc golf course. So you guys would automatically be eligible for those funds of $10,000 and then open the door to be able to potentially in the future apply for more funds, I believe up to $34,000 funds for public health projects in Perkins to promote walking or any sort of public health measure. Do you guys have any questions? And then as far as, I will tag on, as far as, what's the word I'm looking for? leasing, I guess if you will, the ordinance, it would just be the same as you currently do with the park. So that would be up to city staff or the police department, so.
Anybody have any questions?
There's a question.
Thank you. When you say in certain places, were those the places you mentioned, the parks
There's currently,
and city property?
yes, city property, not including sidewalks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what does it mean at the very end when it says declaring an emergency?
I believe that just means that it would be in effect should commission approve the ordinance. So it would be in effect as of now, immediately, rather than having a date of effectiveness. Is that correct? Okay.
All right, anybody else have any questions?
Make a motion to approve. Or do I have to?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Sarah?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yep.
Ron? Yes, ma'am, Aaron?
Yes.
Serious discussion and possible action on declaring an emergency on ordinance 487. I'll make the motion to declare an emergency.
Second?
Mayor?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Ron? Yes, ma'am.
Consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve ordinance 488 regarding amendment to the City of Perkins customized manager option plan adopting the revised and restated Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund Master Defined Contribution Retirement Plan.
It's all stuff that came down from the IRS through OMRF. They said the IRS says we need to make these changes.
I reviewed it. It didn't look like there were any substantive changes. It was more just checking the box so that the okay in that block.
Okay, MRF.
So, okay, MRF can comply with the requirements the IRS has on them. So it's pretty technical and
It's
I
very
think we're
boring.
just checking a box. Yeah.
Any other questions? I'll make the motion to accept.
Second?
Mayor?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes, ma'am.
Serious discussion and possible action on declaring an emergency on ordinance 488. I'll move to declare an emergency.
I'll second.
Any ahead of you?
Mayor, did you make the motion?
Yes.
I'm so sorry I missed that.
You're fine.
Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Ron? Yes, ma'am, Aaron?
Yes.
Good?
Good.
Okay. Consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve City of Perkins municipal fiscal responsibility and budget policy. Everybody's looking at each other. Is this basically the same thing as before, or just, what are we? Budget policy.
Well, this was derived, this basically was born from Crawford, wasn't it? Crawford and Associates is a big CPA firm that deals with the municipality and their budgeting procedures. And then some of it would have been, the dates and things would be the same as we presented before on when we're gonna try to have the budget ready and things like that and present it to the commission. It memorializes that stuff. If there's any specific questions about it, I'd be happy to try to answer them, but this kind of builds on the David Weatherford speech.
Well,
And I took what Crawford put together, I individualized it for us, then I sent it to our former auditor who audited us for like 30 years. He read through it, made some suggestions, we made those changes, Bob reviewed it, and it went to Tammy for her review, so many people who know some things have looked at it.
well, and my comment was that they could choose to have this as an internal policy, and it wouldn't need to be approved by you, but if they wanted to be, and you want it to be a city policy, then it needs to be approved by you. And so you're somewhat committing yourself to these deadlines, and that's not a bad thing. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Well, a lot of the deadlines are basically law too. I mean,
Some of them are, that's really true.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the dates that we've stuck in aren't, but,
Right.
yeah, good point.
If you three are good, I'm good.
What, making it
I can, sure. I'll make
city
a,
policy is what you're saying?
you're,
Yeah, okay.
I was saying if those three are good with
Oh,
this
I
policy.
thought you were talking about-
Enacting it as a city policy, I'm good with making it be a city policy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead. You want me?
sure. I'll make a motion to approve it as a city policy.
I'll second.
Aaron?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yep.
Lester?
Yes. Serious discussion and possible action regarding fiscal year 23 City of Perkins 5-year capital improvement plan.
This is the annual update we do for budgeting purposes. We've met with staff and identified projects for the next fiscal year and then carrying on through it. One thing I always try to remind every year is that this is a living document. So if there's an adjustment that needs to be made as we move forward, that's no problem. We can make that adjustment. The top of the stuff, the top box is stuff that's kind of required or things we usually do in general course of business. And then down below in that box are specific projects we're going to try to do in next year's budget. And then you go on to the third box would be things we want to do but we don't have the funds for. So if funds are identified, we can refer back to that. That's on the that's capital improvement sales tax. And then the next page is public safety sales tax, and so on and so forth. So if there's any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Thanks for your work. That's a lot of work to measure out. Thank you.
I do have one question. The exit door and such, are we out of compliance with code with this, or is that just a, I don't know what the right word is for it.
Want?
Yeah,
Is it a want or a requirement? Is that what you're asking?
basically, yeah. Is it just aesthetics that needs repaired, or are we? Because frankly, if we're not out of compliance, I'm not opposed with moving that $15,000 to something that is, the more aligned with the root control or something with the sewer lines, because I don't know, the purple carpet doesn't really bother me, but I'm just trying to put money somewhere else if it would make more sense, unless we need to do something to meet an accessibility issue.
My concern is that is more of a safety issue with that door.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's why I asked.
You guys know I'm a little safety conscious. I
Right.
want you guys to be able to get out.
And this is a
have the
carry.
right mechanism.
Yeah, this is actually a carryover from this year. We didn't,
Right.
as of now, we haven't had time to get it done. So.
I think going with the safety thing, the biggest concern is how easy is it to come in from the inside, or the outside, in, right?
That's
As
happening.
far as safety, yeah.
So how is it now? You were saying how easy it is
Right, your
now.
safety concern
It's a deep
is,
step.
Just get
is
it
people coming in from this direction.
Right.
Is-
Yeah. it's-
Because I would assume we need to have an exit here for fire code reasons, correct? Yes. So we probably need to update it with maybe one of those push bar type doors.
Lowering it would be,
And that way we can get out when we need to, but nobody could get in, and it'd be like a metal door and it'd be more secure.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not opposed to fixing the door or whatever. I'm just saying replacing the carpet and things of that nature.
Cosmetic.
Yeah, if you're gonna mess something up and you're gonna have it all tore up, then I guess that's the time to do it. But at the same time, I'm not opposed to sending that money towards something dire, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Can I say something before you say something?
You go right ahead. I could see it all over you.
This was, the reason the carpet came up is if we lower the door, then we have to lower that. So we get into the carpet.
That's why I said, like, if you're gonna have something tore up, you have it tore up and you're gonna have to fix it. I get that, I'm just,
See, with increased cost, you may need it all just to do some of the simple work anyways.
Would this be one of those, I mean, if we approve the capital improvement plan as it is and then set up one of our committees we've kind of talked about to review the capital improvement plan over time, is this one of those items that would make sense for that?
I'm sorry, I was.
Okay, y'all were chatting and I started talking.
Sorry.
My question was that if we go ahead and approve the capital improvement plan, but then set up one of our committees that we've talked about doing, a capital improvement plan committee, was that one of our ideas that I mean, I see you nodding, is that?
Yeah, it's a living document, so if we
You can always change it.
get the committee going and see other things that come about or things we can't see now, we can go back. This allows Rachel to move forward with the budget so she can present it to me, and then I can bring it to you next.
Yeah, I'm fine with it as it is at this point.
when and if that committee should ever take place, I would be very interested in being a part of it, just so it's out there in the ether.
Anybody else have any questions? No, well, I'll make a motion to accept
I'll
the
second.
capital improvement.
Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Autumn?
Yes, ma'am.
Aaron?
Yes.
Consideration, discussion, and possible action on to approve application for Rebuilding America Infrastructure Stability, Sustainability and Energy Raise Grant by Grant Scribe at the cost of $4,500.
This would be to apply for a minimum of $1 million is what the RAISE grant is. It's a 0 to 20% match. You don't know what that's going to be. We're obviously, this is through Grant Scribe. They would charge $4,500 to write the grant. In the event the grant is awarded, they would charge an additional $1,500. So this would be, in my mind at this time, plan for the worst, 20% match. If you apply for $1 million, you need a $200,000 match. The good thing about, there's two good things about this grant. One, they put a lot more money into it this year. They almost doubled it. It's in the B's, billions. And the second is you have almost 10 years to use the $1 million, so you don't need the $200,000 today. You may need $20,000 this year, and you do a $100,000 project, and you move on down through 7, 8, 9 years till 2031.
You just match as you spend.
You match as you spend.
Nice.
And in addition, I believe ARPA funds, according to Dave Floyd, in the event it were needed, would be an approved funding source for the match. I don't know, I don't think we'll need that. I just wanted you to be aware that that safety net is there should that need arise. Grant Scribe seems very confident that if we apply for this grant, we will be awarded.
Michael, that sounds like job security.
More sidewalks.
Sidewalks.
I shouldn't say roads. I mean, like to resurface. Forgot we're on TV.
All right, any other questions?
Make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Was that you on?
Sarah, she beat me.
I'm sorry I'm having trouble with you two tonight.
All right.
Aaron, do you know?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor? Justin?
Yes.
Austin?
Yes, ma'am.
Consideration, discussion regarding Perkins City Commission Code of Ethics.
Okay, so I hope you've had the opportunity to review it. There was one thing that I've added that's in your in the the version in your packet that was not in the version I emailed to you earlier, and that's just some specific language about how you get an item on the agenda. That was something that we had kind of considered and discussed earlier. It's not in David Weatherford's form, but it was in Bixby's version to a certain extent. I modified that and threw that in there. So let me, hold on, let me get my copy, and I can tell you exactly where that is. There's a few areas I want you to make sure you're good with and that you understand, but the only thing that I've added is on page 8. Just above letter D where it says follow process for adding items to the agenda. And you may want to review that. As you may recall, I sent an email.
I'm sorry. Oh, found it, sorry.
Okay.
Before you went on, I just needed to find it.
Yeah, get there. I sent an email a while ago saying, hey, if you want something on the agenda, will you email the 3 of us? And so that we're aware. And I just kind of took that and gave you a deadline to do it of 5 business days before an agenda is due. And then the language from Bixby I really liked in that paragraph was, and if the city manager or the city attorney wants to contact you and say, hey, we can't get that done by the next meeting, you know, how about we wait and put that on the next agenda or whatever, you know, it gives a little flexibility. But ultimately it will go, if you want it on the agenda, it can go on the agenda. But I'll give you a minute to read that because that is added.
Again, thank you for making time to prepare this for us.
It's awesome.
So you're all okay with that added language?
I haven't got through it yet.
Okay, I'll take some more time. Everybody's okay with that language, or no further discussion on that language? Okay. Then I'm gonna go back and start at the beginning, but refer you to page 3, under policies and protocol related to commissioner conduct. Under A, generally, there's a paragraph called ceremonial events. This language is what came right out of David's form. I just wanted to make sure you're all comfortable with the way it's drafted. Basically, if there's some ceremonial event going on, it's going to come to the city manager's attention first. He's going to let the mayor know. Mayor goes if he or she decides to go, deals with it. If he or she is not available, then the city manager determines, you know, if the organization wants someone other than the mayor to come, and if they do, then the mayor goes and asks one of you to go do it, who should just serve as a substitute. Just make sure you're all okay with that procedure. can't go to a ceremonial event, it doesn't mean you can't be part of the program, but if someone calls and says, we would like for someone to come from the city to this event, this is the protocol for handling it. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, then go to page 4.
Tammy, can I
Yes,
ask a
ma'am.
quick question? Sorry, it just kind of hit me. Let me think of how I want to ask this. Because we do live in a very small town, there are times when people will approach us individually with the intent of us being a city representative. If that's the case, do we tell them, I need you to officially ask through the city? Do you see what I'm asking? Because it is such a small town and such a small community, there's opportunities for people to just come up to us on any given opportunity and say, you're a commissioner, can you come? And so there's a bit of a blurred line between our role as a commission. Do you see what I'm asking? I mean, I don't know if I'm making sense of what I'm asking. Do we tell them you're going to have to make a formal request?
No. No, this is specific to if a formal request is made. If
Okay.
a request is made, what is Bob supposed to do with it?
Okay.
Essentially.
Okay, that's fine.
So-
With such a small community, that line can get blurred real fast, and I don't want to overstep in any way.
And somebody may want Justin to go talk about gun safety because of what he does for a living, or, something like that, and so that's totally not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else on that? Okay, next page, under the second paragraph, protocol for public hearings. You guys do not really actually have public hearings real often, okay? A public hearing is different than a public meeting. And this paragraph is protocol for public hearing. And usually the hearings are typically in the context of a planning, zoning or zoning change, something that has to do with planning and zoning. So, or budget. Or can you think of any other public hearings that we have that are required of?
Sometimes with grants, CDBG grant requires.
CDBG grant, so yeah, there are times when I didn't even think about that. So there is a protocol for a public hearing. This language, which is again standard language, but it kind of contemplates you're dealing with a situation where there's an applicant, like in a zoning change. You've got, so typically the procedure for that would be the applicant, what is it, the applicant talks first or the manager? Yeah, okay, staff presents, applicant gets to say something, then anybody else who's signed up to talk about this issue gets to talk, and then the applicant gets to respond to anything that was brought up that they want to respond to, and then it goes into discussion time amongst yourselves. So that's just the protocol for a public hearing. So, and the only reason I wanted to bring that up is because I think unless you really are paying close attention, you can get confused. This language would seem like, well, but we don't do that at a public meeting. And this is just very specific to public hearings. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, it's normal, it's the normal procedure, I just wanted to point it out. And then I don't have another comment till page 12. And just above 4, for sanctions, that paragraph before says the commission members are provided city email accounts for city business in order to comply with legal requirements for the preservation of public records and with the city's computer usage policies, which I don't know if we have one. We do? Okay, good. All commission members should conduct city business through the city email account. I know that you're not all doing that. And if you're not going to commit to doing that, you probably should not put that in your protocol, in your, you know, in your code. Here's the thing, that's a little misleading because you're not violating any legal requirements by using a personal email or, well, a personal email. You're just subjecting yourself to having to turn that personal email over for searches. And nowadays, there's programs for that, you know, and I know in Broken Arrow that IT would just take your phone, you know, and even if they request, and depending on whether it's a discovery request or open records request, but you could be looking at texts that you may or may not have meant to send coming through and having identified, you know, words that got picked up. And it's just a lot cleaner if you have your email and just say, I always use my email. And you may still be required to turn over your personal email account just for a word search. And it's always very protected because they're not necessarily going to believe you when you say, oh, I only talked about Joe Baloney, we'll say, on my account, my official account, but you know, you hope that you did, and you can keep that separate. In a smaller town, I'm not too worried about this. I think you should. I've got 4 email accounts on the face of my phone. You know, it's not real hard to do that these days, so if you want to do it, we can find a way. I just committed Bob to one more thing. But I know Justin uses his, so if you guys want to do that, great. If you don't, you might think about that language. That's standard language, and I just wanted to point that out.
Well, if we're gonna do it, should we take the word should out and replace it with shall?
I know. No, because I wouldn't want you to shall yourself.
Guess you make a mistake.
Yeah. Not that this is legally binding, this document, nobody can come and use it against you, a third party. This is your internal, what you're doing for yourself amongst yourselves. But still, I'm kind of...
It's creating a standard of professionalism though, so if
It
you're...
is, it's important. So I'm just gonna throw that out. And then the last part, I want to just make sure you do know that the whole paragraph on sanctions is not in David's book. Okay, he has this one paragraph that doesn't, don't tell him I said this, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, I know, it won't be the first time I disagree with him. I don't like the way he's worded his one paragraph. This is actually, and I want you guys to really think about this and even maybe discuss it with David when he comes on the 29th if you want to, and give him the opportunity to disagree with me. But this is language that I actually drafted for Bixby's code 4 years ago, and I pulled it from a completely other state. Okay, so this would be new and unique, I think, for you all. So think about whether, and not right now. I'm not asking for anything right now, but before you meet with David and we go over the whole handbook, hopefully, or whatever we've got of it on March 29th. Think about if this is how you would want to proceed. It's not, I feel like it's good to have a structure for a sanction, but as you know, you don't have to have one. So think about that and go through it. That I just added because, you know, I spent a lot of time on that at one point in time, and Somebody would.
Thank you again.
Yes.
For creating the document.
Well, it's, I've put together some parts of the handbook. Bob's put together parts of the handbook.
By March 29th, no pressure.
And I want you guys to know, yeah, I know, I was mean to them. I shouldn't have, you guys looked at me and said, do you have a handbook? Sure I can, except I don't know any of these things. So Bob, you have to cover those subjects. So I committed him, and I shouldn't have. But I also want to say as to that goes, and then it's a little bit off agenda, so I won't say any more. But if you look at the handbook that OMAG requires, it's like this much. If you look at the handbook that David gave me, it's this much. And there are things in David's book that we are labeling aspirational. Okay, we're not gonna, and our book is gonna be somewhere in between. So, but this is I think this is the meat of it. Everything else will be mostly internet informational.
It's great. It's well written. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Consideration, discussion, and possible action to submit official nominee to the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group for a 3-year trustee position to be elected in May. Is anybody interested? Do we need to do a motion?
I know of nobody interested in this
You
position.
don't want to do this, Jason? You don't want to be nominated?
No. No.
Okay.
Okay, new business. Anybody have anything? Move we adjourn. We do have the public authority meeting, so.
I'll second.
Yes.
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 Sorry,
That's
caught me
going to be
right in the
great
middle.
on YouTube. That's going to be great on YouTube.
What was that?
It was a yawn. It's been a long week. It was Tuesday.
That could be a text sound.
Well, it's out there in the ether. Somebody will go grab it.
We know. Thanks, Joe. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your help.
Are you ready?
Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Autumn? Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Consideration and action on consent agenda. Does anybody have anything? I'll move we accept.
Second?
Mayor?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Autumn? Yes, ma'am.
Public appearances, petitions, promotions, communications, and personal appearances. Last chance. Anybody have anything they'd like to say? No. Consideration, discussion, and possible action regarding increasing utility rates.
So this is the time of year as we work on budget that we annually consider the possibility of raising utility rates in order to, the thought process years ago was to, we do a little bit incrementally. We don't do 25% all at once when that day comes. So staff has polled other communities and put together a packet of information on their utility rates. You'll notice on page 2 of that, there's a ranking of the base rates. I'm speaking base rates, water and sewer, where our water rate is ranked 7 out of 10. Pawnee, Perry, Yale, Drumright, Guthrie, Manford, Chandler, Cushing, Stillwater, and Perkins. Our sewer rate is the highest. That would be due to the sewer plant that was built 13 years ago and the financing on that. And then combined, we're ranked number 3. We put together, there's supporting documentation from the communities in there. We put together a spreadsheet of what does a 2.5% rate mean up to a 5% rate increase mean to the base, to a base customer, to a middle residential customer, and to a higher usage customer, 5,000 gallons. We put that in a spreadsheet, so basically at 2.5%, you're looking at, I don't know, $1 something a month. for base rate. And then at 5%, you're looking at about $2 something a month, less than $2.25 a month on the base for water and sewer. Trash is a little bit of a different animal because it's written in the contract that was entered into with Davis that their fees will go up 1.4% each year. And the big thing on that I'm abundantly concerned about right now is the fuel surcharge. When they get above, well, it says $2.75, it's 15% for every dollar above $2.75 per gallon of fuel. That has not been charged as of yet. I'm assuming it will be with as high as fuel is. So,
Are those diesel or gas?
yes, diesel. So we looked through that. Right now there is in the budget process for Fund 02, which is the public works where this money goes to from utilities, there's about a $65,000 deficit in revenue versus expenses for next year in the budgeting process. A 5% rate increase.
Is that before the fuel?
Yes. That fuel's not,
That's not calculated into this at the moment. Okay.
no, that's not calculated
was-
in, because that's a little bit of a,
Yeah, that's a sliding.
yeah. So it'd be, if there was a 5% increase, you would basically fill that gap. Staff realized there's a lot going on in the world right now, so we looked at other possibilities on a way to put the budget together without doing a utility rate increase, and we are confident that $65,000 can be taken out of the reserve funds and built into the budget to negate the need for a rate increase at this time. That's a decision for the mayor and commissioners to make. But we wanted to present as much information as we could so you can make an informed decision or some combination thereof. I mean, I feel like I say this every year, but it's volatile. And it's getting, the world's getting a little more volatile. So what we do now may not hold water for very long. I don't know. I mean, I am comfortable with the reserve fund.
Go ahead.
Is it, you said any combination, so would it be possible to do a small rate increase and then cover the difference with that with the expenditure?
Yes,
Just in case.
that is possible.
Because if we did that, then if the fuel cost, when the fuel cost comes our way, we should have some money essentially, right, to cover the difference. Am I understanding?
Well, I think yes, but I think if fuel stays at $4 or $4.25 a gallon, that fuel surcharge could ostensibly be $4,000 a month, $48,000 a year. So I don't know that we're going to have, and of course that's saying 12 months at $4 something a gallon. Who knows if that's going to happen? But there would be a little more money there, obviously, but it wouldn't be.
Yeah, I don't think it would be enough to cover anything. I just was saying if we did a small rate increase, that it would give us a little bit of play with fuel surcharge, and then that way the city didn't have to come up with this fuel cost plus the rate increase as well, but not impact our citizens to the point of the complete percentage of rate increase.
Sure.
I think it's also important to remember that the reserves are there for situations like this. And so we are in a good situation with our reserves. And if you look at a reserve like an emergency fund, this would be considered an opportunity to tap into that emergency fund and avoid raising utility rates for people in general.
I agree. I just worry about the length of time that we could be in this situation, and I don't wanna tap our reserves completely.
No,
That's-
I wouldn't either.
That's
No.
why I wonder if just a small increase would be an option,
My
not
question,
sustainable.
my question is related to both, to this conversation. Is there anything statutorily that limits us from doing an increase at a different point in time throughout the year?
At a different point in time.
So we're pre-budget season now, but let's say it's, I mean, we could potentially
Sure.
review a rate increase at a later date.
It would just be a budget amendment to take in the excess revenue. Yes, you could do it at any time. Yes.
So we could do, what I'm understanding is we could do
Reserve.
the reserve for now.
And if
If we
that
see
started
that it's,
moving.
that if the situation is evolving and it's gonna continue at this rate, then we could look at the options of a small increase or the total increase.
Yes.
See, if gas stays that high for that long, you're probably gonna be looking at across the board a budget for police and everybody. There's gonna be some major changes going on, unfortunately, so.
Right. And that's why I don't wanna tap into the reserves necessarily, because I also wanna make sure that our emergency management has the opportunity to be able to protect the city, because they have fuel to drive around, so.
Can you use public safety sales tax for fuel in an emergency situation like this?
The, so the trash contract is dated 2020
Originally, yes.
originally?
It's a 7-year agreement.
Did we do the 1.4 annual increase last year on trash? We did do.
Yes.
Um,
And it equals like 20 cents or so. I mean, it's.
Right. So are we allowed then, I think we would be allowed to consider trash separately from sewer water. And we could potentially do an increase on trash based on the contractual amount and recognize the fuel surcharge. Let me ask this question. Is there a way to pass on a fuel surcharge to the end user in our system?
There's not a, yes, it could be done. It would require, well, we just have to do something and divide it by number of customers.
I don't.
Or a fee on the bill.
On that, and I see where you're going with that, if you live in city limits, are you required to use the city's trash service?
Yes.
Okay, because what I wouldn't want is a resident to decide, well, I'm not gonna pay your surcharge, and then their trash is gonna be piling up.
My recommendation to the commission would be to stay put on sewer and water for the moment, given our rates comparatively, but then increase trash by 1.4%, which is the annual increase built into the contract. But just stay steady on sewer, water for the moment. The 1.4% increase is part of the contract. We would see that coming and can explain that we're contractually obligated to a lower than inflationary rate increase. But to increase sewer and water at the moment, in a moment of volatility for everybody, I think that even if it's just $3 or $4 would be more impactful than 20 cents. So my recommendation to this group would be to separate the two out and do the 1.4 increase on trash only, leave sewer and water alone.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, you have to do the trash no matter what, but because of the contract, but I think that going on to the reserves at this point is the best situation, and hopefully the world doesn't dissolve into more craziness later.
If only we had a crystal ball.
Yeah.
So we need a motion.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I make a motion to utilize the reserves.
Make maybe Make a motion not to increase utility rates at this time.
I make a motion to not increase utility rates at
Water
this
and
time.
sewer rates at this time,
Water and sewer utility rates at this time.
but to increase trash.
To increase trash at the 1.4%, which is contractually obligated already.
Thank you, Sarah. I'll second.
If I could say one thing, then next month we'll actually have an agenda items to specifically decide whether or not you want to dive into the reserves to make the budget work. It's kind of two, it's a different option, but we'll have to have a separate agenda item to consider.
Sarah?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Yep.
Justin?
Yes.
Autumn? Yes, ma'am.
All right, new business. Anybody have anything? I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Mary?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Autumn? Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks for coming. Those of you that came from the public, Jackie, thank you.
Two copies of several things.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay.